Well, hello guys and welcome back to webacrylic YouTube channel. In this video, we'll see how you can control your web page using JavaScript DOMs and JavaScript events. But before moving forward, there is a request. Please subscribe to the channel, press the bell icon and put a thumbs up to this video. So let's begin. So in JavaScript, we treat a web page as a document and we use document object to control the web page. Now let's start writing our code. We'll use the script tag here and inside script tag we'll write our JavaScript code. Now let's try creating some HTML elements using JavaScript. Okay. So to create a HTML element, you have to write something like this. We'll use document object, document dot create element. Let's create a paragraph p element, p tag. We'll use p tag and assign it to a variable where para is equals to p. Now we have created an element p. Now let's write something inside the para. So we'll use para dot inner html is equals to some sample text like how are you guys. This is our sample text. Now we have to assign this created element to the body of the HTML, and we'll do that by using document dot body dot append child para. Now let's run it. Here you can see we have simply created an HTML element without using any kind of tag. So we haven't used p tag, but we have created a p tag. Now let's try creating a button using JavaScript. So we'll use this syntax, but here instead of p we'll use button, and here we'll use btn, again here also btn, and inside our button let's write click me. You can see. So that's how you create some HTML elements like paragraph, button, division. You can create anything. You can create tables, you can create forms, you can create lists, etc, etc. Now how you can delete an element? Okay, so let's assume that we are having two buttons here, all right, in our web page. Now the first button is having index 0 and the other button is having index 1 and so on. Now if you want to delete the second button which is having the index of 1, you can do so by this syntax: document dot body dot remove child btn and then its index. Now let's refresh it. Here you can see the element is deleted. So that's how you create and delete HTML elements using JavaScript. Now apart from creating and deleting elements, you can actually control the existing elements as well. Now let's say that we have some elements like this. Here we have three paragraphs, three p tags, right? One with id first para, but the para is empty, we haven't written anything inside it. The second is again empty p tag with no id and no class, and the third is p tag with a class of last para. Now let's try controlling these HTML elements using JavaScript. So let's try first with the id. So you can select any element with an id using this syntax: document dot get element by, not tag name, we'll use id for this, id, and the id is first para. Now inside it, to control the HTML of that element, we use inner HTML. Now inner HTML will write something like I am first para. Now let's refresh it. Here you can see now the text inside the first p tag is changed. Now I am first para. Now there's another way of selecting the HTML element which is by using the tag name. So we'll use document dot get element by not by id, get elements by uh, get element get elements by tag name. This is the second way. So now we are going to, again, the tag name is p here. Now inside, now here is a twist. We have three p tags, but we want to select the middle p tag. Now again we'll use the indexing. Now the first p is having index 0, the second p is having index 1, and the third p is having index 2. So we'll use the second p which is having index 1. So we'll write 1 in the subscript here. Now dot inner HTML is equals to, let's write I am middle para. And one more thing, let's do the br tag so that the line can break. Here you can see I am middle para. Now to select anything with the tag name, you have to use get elements by tag name, and then the tag name inside the braces, the parenthesis, and then in subscript you have to write the index of it. Okay, now let's write another. Okay, so another way of selecting HTML elements is by using the class name. Document dot get element by get elements by class name. Now again the class name is last para. Okay, so we are selecting the last para with its class name. Now again we have to use the subscript because different paragraph can share same class. So again we have to be specific here. So we'll use the 0th index because the first p tag which is using last para will be the 0. Now dot inner HTML is equals to I am last para. Now let's refresh it. Now here you can see I am last para is written inside the p tag here. So that's how you select some HTML elements using JavaScript. We have three different kind of selector: ID selector, tag name selector, and by class name selector. You also have a special selector which is query selector all. Okay, to select all kinds of CSS classes. You can try that on your own and tell me in the comment section if you face any kind of problems. The next important thing is JavaScript events. We can control the elements on some specific events like on mouse click, on hover, on page load, on scroll, etc, etc. So let's see all of them one by one. Alright, so let's create this canvas first. Nice. So delete these as well. Okay, so now let's say that we have a button here. Now we'll give it an event on click and we'll name the function add text, and inside it we'll write click me. Now let's create the add text function. So the aim is that whenever a user will click on this button, some text will be added to this p tag. So let's see how you can do that. Now inside the function we'll write document dot get element by id, and let's select the id first para. Inside this inner HTML, let's write something like you clicked the button, thank you. Let's refresh it. Now here you can see that when you will click on this button, the message will pop up on the screen. So this is happening on some kind of event, and which is known as events in JavaScript. All right, so whenever, again let's see it again, whenever you will click on this button, the message will pop up. So that's how you can control the HTML elements by using JavaScript events. Now let's see some more events. We can also control HTML attributes of any HTML element by using JavaScript events and JavaScript DOM. Let's see how. Alright, so here I have an image, not here. Here I have an image, and let's delete this. Here, so I have an image of a bulb. Alright, now let's try changing the image attribute. We'll change this src attribute using JavaScript. So let's create a button here. Bulb on. We'll try to on the bulb with this button on click. Use document dot get element by id, and in the id we'll use my image id dot src is equals to pick on bulb on dot gif. So here we have a button. Now let's refresh it, and when you will click on it, oh sorry, I have put 2f's here. Refresh it, and when you will click on the button bulb on, the bulb will simply glow. So we are controlling the src attribute by using the JavaScript. Here you can see on click we are changing the document.get element by id. We are selecting it by id, and we are changing the src attribute to something else. Right, now let's create another button. Let's just copy it and paste it here. Alright, now we'll write here bulb off, and we'll use another image here, bulb off. Now let's save it and refresh it. Now here you can see bulb on, bulb off, bulb on, bulb off, bulb on, bulb off. This is kind of fun. You can use these kind of codes while creating some kind of games using JavaScript. So we are controlling the HTML using JavaScript DOMs and events, but we are using only on click event here. Let's see others as well. Okay, so before moving forward, let's clear this and get back to the primitive button that we had. Okay, here we are. Okay, now let's try adding some more events and functionalities to it. Let's give it an ID of btn. All right, now after the on click event, we are going to add another event, which is on mouse over. Now on mouse over, we'll call the function mover, mover, then this. Now let's handle it. Let's create a function for that. Name it mover. Keep these small things in your mind that you have to use the same name over here. Now obj obj.innerHTML. Let's refresh it. Here you can see whenever I'm putting my mouse onto the button, the text is changing. Here you can see it. Try it again. Yeah, and when we'll click on it, another event will happen. Alright, let's add some more functionalities. You can add these kind of event on anything. You can add this on image, on table, on list, on paragraph. I'm using button here. Alright, so you can use on double click, db click this. Let's create another function for double click, db click you just double click the button. Now let's refresh it and double click on it. Here you can see you just double clicked on the button. Again refresh it, test it again. When you will click on it once, it will execute this, and when you will hover on it, it will execute this like mouse over, and when you will double click on it, it will execute this. So these are some kind of JavaScript events. There's a huge list of JavaScript events. I'll give a reference about all of them. I'll create a list and I'll put the list in the description below. To keep check the description, you can get all the JavaScript events from there. Now the last thing that I would like to mention here is how you can control the CSS part of HTML by using JavaScript. So let's try controlling CSS of this button. So what is the ID that I have given to it? So I have given it ID of BTN. Okay, so we'll add something like document dot get element by ID, then BTN dot style dot background color, let's say, and let's change the background color to orange. Let's refresh it. Here you can see, so you can actually change the CSS with it as well. Okay, and before ending this video, I would like to discuss one more event which is used mostly while designing some kind of gaming website. All right, so let's clear this. Let's clear this. I'll do some copy paste here to save the time, but don't you worry, I'll explain you each and everything. All right, so this is the code. Now first let's run it. So here you can see you can actually detect what key the user just pressed. Okay, now how? So I have created an input field here. Input type is equals to text. I have given it a size. I have given it a size of 40. Then on key down, it is another event. On key down, I'm calling the function my function. All right, and when event. Now in my function, I'm passing this event, like this is an object which is referring to this particular event. All right, now here I am using the event object to detect the key, just like this, and I'm simply displaying which key did the user press. So if the user press H, it will detect it. If the user press arrow up, arrow down, arrow left, arrow right. And you can use this concept with the help of JavaScript conditionals to create various games, right? So that's pretty it for JavaScript DOMs and JavaScript events. If you like the video, please put a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Guys, please, and if you are having any kind of query, any kind of doubt, you can connect with me on my WhatsApp group, or you can simply put your query in the comment section below. By the way, thanks for watching, and we'll meet you in the next one.